Hey everybody, welcome back to Hawkeye Skunk Works, and in this episode we're going to talk some more Jeep stuff. Now the last Jeep update video I did for you guys, you seem to really enjoy that, and since like the major work on this is still going to be a little ways off, the axles and things, and since it's been cold here in Iowa, and I mean like cold, when the highs are in the negatives, that's cold. And yes, I do have a garage, a very nice garage. It's not insulated, and space heaters can only do so much. So I thought I would do a quick little video with just some random things that I've done to this Jeep that I didn't film because I didn't really think to do it because they weren't a big deal. But when I looked at them all together, I thought you guys might actually enjoy them. So we're going to take a little walk around inside and out, and I'll show you a few of my favorite small mods. One of my absolute favorite mods is my headlight bulbs and my fog light bulbs. Now these are aftermarket headlights. I actually found those in a junkyard, but you can get those anywhere and they're really easy to replace. But what I have on my low beams and in my factory fog lights are aux beam LED bulbs. Now, before anyone gets butthurt about the LED bulbs in non-projector housings, there's so much debate out there about regular halogens, projectors, HIDs, LEDs. I don't know the answers. I think, personally, it depends on the housing, so the different vehicle, and it depends on the brand and quality of the bulb, the light emitting device, whatever. So I had been on the WJ forums, and a lot of people were running these aux beam AUX, and I'm going to put links in the description for a lot of the stuff that I talk about. So I put the aux beam LED bulbs. It's just a bulb. It's got a little fan on the back of it, and it's not even a harness. It's just like a short little pigtail that plugs into the factory harness. That's all that I did. I bought those because I did some research. They're inexpensive. I think they're $35 or $40 prime on Amazon. I have been running these in this Jeep for over a year. I took the time to aim the headlights. You can find all kinds of information. I think generally rule of thumb is like the middle of the beam is 4 feet off the ground at 20 feet away, something like that. I took the time to aim them. I live in a small town outside of big towns, and there's like some rural stretches in between. I work in a big town, and everything that we go do is in a big town. So I'm driving at night, I'm driving in small towns, big towns, I'm driving in rural areas. I have never, not once, been bright lighted by another driver. Okay? So the argument for that, I think, is void. People say you have to have in projectors, otherwise you get bright lighted. Another thing is people will say that since those bulbs aren't in the right housing, they don't emit enough heat, and if you get ice or snow on your headlight, it won't melt the ice. I've not had an issue. We've had several ice storms, lots of snow. I've never noticed that being a problem. So I guess I can't answer that, but I've had no issues with it, just like I've had no issues with the bright lighting. So I love these bulbs, and I'm going to insert some footage from later tonight. I'll take this outside and shine it on my white garage door and out in the snow for you guys to see. So here's my headlights. These are the low beams and the fog lights on at night. There's no street lights or anything on. This is from inside the vehicle. Let's hop out and take a look. That's what they look like. I think they look really, really great. I realize you guys can't get the full effect here, but I don't think they don't have that cheesy kind of cheap bluish look to them, and they definitely do not look like regular headlights. They look like a modern new car. Now the factory fog light bulbs, it's just again just I'll put the link in the description. I can't remember the number of the bulb, but they're aux beam LED bulbs. All I did was I took those fog light housings out, a couple screws, took them apart, a couple more screws, and they just kind of clipped together. They were filthy dirty. They had like algae and stuff growing in them. It was nasty. Took them out, I cleaned them, and then I took some of that aluminum foil tape for furnace ductwork, and I put it inside the white plastic housing just so there's a little bit more reflectiveness. And I took some like 2000 grit sandpaper and whatever buffing stuff I had on hand, and I cleaned the lenses up a little bit. And I also took the time to aim them. There was no real information on aiming fog lights, but just kind of on the ground 20 or 30 feet out. And I run, if my headlights are on, I run my fog lights. And again, no bright lighting. High beams are still regular bulbs. I don't even need the high beams with these LED headlight bulbs. And one of my most favorite things that I've done to that, and I'm soon going to do it to the 4Runner. Interestingly enough, the headlights in this and the fog lights take the same bulb. It's a 9006, I think. And the fog light housings are projector housings. So I'll be able to report back on that, on how that all works. One thing that I did have to do was LED bulbs are polarity specific, which means the negative and positive have to be negative and positive. And I'm probably going to screw this up, but roll with me. Regular halogen bulbs are not, so you can plug them in either way. On this harness and the plug, there is a clip so that you can only plug it in one way, and it will clip into place. When I plugged these bulbs in that way, they didn't work because for whatever reason, the polarity on the bulb and this harness are backwards. So I could plug them in the opposite way, and they worked. It didn't clip in, so it wasn't secure. It's only a 2-wire harness, so all I did was I clipped the pigtail off the Jeep harness, flipped it around, used heat shrink and solder and stuff. Actually, let me show you real quick what I used. They are heat shrink connectors with a little bit of low temp solder in the middle, and heat shrink tubing and adhesive. Those bands are adhesive, so you put the wires in there, cross them over. You can use a heat gun or whatever. I use a heat gun. That solder melts and shrinks and glues everything together, and then I do use some traditional heat shrink tubing to go over that just as another barrier. But these things, they're really cheap. You can get them in all different kinds of sizes and variety packs on Amazon. I'll put a link for those too. It's been great. Sorry, it's like focusing. The camera is actually, I think, trying to focus on my face and the steam coming from my voice. So from when I'm talking, it's kind of weird. So we're going to hop inside and take a look at three interior mods. First off, we could talk about the gauges. I've got the limited style 99 to like halfway between 01 and 02 white face gauges. These are not the glow style gauges. They're just your standard backlit, but they are white, and in my opinion, they look much nicer. This is a direct bolt-in swap from the black gauges. This piece right here pops out, no screws. There's 2 screws up here, 2 screws on the bottom, then the whole unit can come out with one harness on the back. Now, there's a lot of debate over your odometer and getting that correct, your total mileage, because that stays with the gauges. However, I've read some things that supposedly there's a tool that Chrysler used, a diagnostic tool that you could hook up and switch the mileage over, but supposedly they wouldn't do it for just anybody. You had to know somebody, and that tool may or may not exist anymore. That doesn't matter. That unit is a little electronic unit that's in the gauges. You can take it out and swap it from one cluster to another of this style of cluster. You can take the gauge, it's just a bunch of screws. You can take everything apart. You can take the gauges out without removing the needles, and you can replace your actual mileage into a different cluster. You can't do that with the glow gauges, the 02 to 04 limited gauges. You can't swap that over. You can put those gauges in these earlier models. However, there's like it's like the ABS light or the seatbelt light or something will turn on and it will stay on. A lot of guys just pull those light bulbs out. They don't care. Mine's on right now because I'm sitting here with the car running without my seatbelt on. Moving over to my double din radio. I love double dins. I like bigger buttons. I like bigger displays. They're easier to use in my opinion. I'm getting kind of some bad lighting here. This surround I got off eBay, or no, Amazon. This particular one, link in the description below. You'll just swap over your vents. You'll have to do a little bit of sanding on the vent piece to clear the radio. Well, I suppose it depends on the actual double din unit that you're using. I did have to do a little bit of sanding and trimming on this vent piece. Now also back behind the radio there is a plastic piece inside the dash. It's just a part of the dash, it's nothing. That will need to be trimmed more than likely, again depending on your unit. I had to trim mine just so that the top part of the unit would fit all the way in the back. I just used that oscillating cutting tool and with a really fine saw blade on there and just trimmed all that out. It's really easy. If you've done a double din install on anything else that didn't come with a double din, doing stuff like that is really easy. You could use a Dremel. I've used hacksaw blades before and just used them, you know, with a glove and, you know, trimmed things out, files, whatever, but I love double din units. Moving down here, I replaced the cigarette lighter outlet with a dual USB. You can get these in different colors, different styles, everywhere online. Under here, I have a flexible white LED strip that is hooked to the wiring for the light bulb that's in the ashtray, so it turns on when the headlights turn on. And we do a lot of traveling at night and we always have so much stuff. This just gives a little bit of ambient light here in this tray and kind of over the console so that you can see what you got going on. It sticks on. It's back here behind the ashtray, and then I actually used some of that foil tape just on a couple different places to help direct the light exactly where I wanted it. I also have aftermarket heated seats, high and low. That's really easy to install. Comes with a wiring harness. You just need power and a ground. There's tons of different options available online. If you've got leather seats, you've got to have heated seats, in my opinion. Moving on to my center console lid. Yes, in fact, that is the lid off of a ZJ. Why in the world would I do that? That is why. Wow, that's really dirty and dusty. You know, you guys probably know I'm a little obsessed with having cup holders. There are cup holders at the bottom of the console, but they're awful. They're almost impossible to use, especially if you have a floor liner. They don't pull out. They're hard for kids to reach in car seats. These are great for sippy cups, kids' water bottles. There's no hole in the bottom, so like your smaller, just plastic water bottles will slide through. But other than that, they're great. It's pretty much a direct bolt-on. I had to drill 4 holes for the screws and these little alignment pins. Other than that, it goes right on. There is like this plastic ridge on both sides that I still need to trim down a little bit. You really only have to trim like the first 2 inches to clear the console here. I currently don't have a latch in it. I took the latch out, but I do think with some finagling you could really get that latch to line up. I don't really care that it doesn't have a latch. You would care probably if you had adults in the back a lot with heavier drinks, because without that latch you put drinks in here and it tips back. And it's just something we keep in mind. Or you could do a couple little squares of industrial strength Velcro, or just one in the middle. I've thought about doing that, and I may yet. I have mud everywhere in here, I'm seeing. So I really like that. It's the same color, it's the same texture. This particular one's not in the greatest shape. You can see something has sat there for a long time before I got this out of the scrapyard. I think it's a little bit softer and it's a little bit wider, so I really like that, especially with the cup holders. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed seeing that stuff. I recommend everything that I've done. Do it at your own risk, whatever. I need to wrap this video up because it's gone way too long. Thanks for checking us out. Hit us up on social media. Email me, HawkeyeSkunkWorks@gmail.com. Subscribe, like, hit the notifications, and until next time, take care. We'll see you. Goodbye.